Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. It's Joy Taylor. Make sure that you hit subscribe and drop your comments in the comment section. We will get to some of them later on. Really appreciate you hanging out with me again. It's been a very interesting week, and we're going to start with LeBron announcing that he is taking a break from social media. He responded to a tweet from Rich Kleiman, who is Kevin Durant's business partner. Rich tweeted, with so much hate and negativity in the world today, it confuses me why some of the national sports media still thinks that the best way to cover sports is through negative takes. We can all acknowledge that sports is the last part of society that universally brings people together. So why can't the coverage do the same? It's only clickbait when you say it. When the platform is so big, you can make the change and allow us all an escape from real life negativity. I, for one, find it all a waste of breath. The Olympics and JJ and Braun's show was the future of what this can and should all be. So LeBron responded to that, amen, Rich Kleiman with the salutes. And then he tweeted, and with that being said, I'll holler at y'all, getting off social media for the time being. Y'all take care. Peace sign, crown, because he's the king. Now, LeBron is known for taking breaks from social media, so this is not a new thing. He does his zero dark 30-23 during the postseason, which I actually think is brilliant. And I actually like that he announces that he's getting off social media for the postseason. LeBron gets criticized for literally everything he does. So just, making it known that he is focusing on basketball in the postseason and not being on social media. Whether or not he actually does it, who cares? Like he's not active on social media. So obviously he's not using it. But this is a little bit different because this is, I think, in response to not just the negativity that's happening with the political space, but I think he's, still seeing some of the criticisms of the Lakers and the decisions that they've made. And obviously Bronny is playing with him now. So there's been lots of thoughts about that. And overall, there are some sentiments that I agree with in what they're saying. I do think that we live in an overwhelmingly negative society. I did a plea on my podcast, Too Personal, which you should go check out this week, about I think we should have a national shut the fuck up day. I think me, you, everyone should just shut the fuck up for a day. No comments, no tweets, no threads, no blue sky, no Reddit, no YouTube comments, no texts. Like, just shut the fuck up. Just see something that you don't like, wash it over you, and continue on with your day and see how that makes you feel. People were commenting and probably still are that I need to practice this. I fucking do every day. First of all, I get paid to talk. So if I'm giving my opinion, I'm getting a check for that. So that's one. And two, I very much enjoy not talking because I have to do it all day. That's my job. So I enjoy silence and solitude. I'll be in the car for an hour with not a sound. I enjoy that. I need that actually to reset. And to take a step away from the negativity is important sometimes for your mental health, for your ability to focus and be successful. All those things are true. Where I would take issue with what Rich said is, yes, could everyone be less negative and less hostile? Sure. But that's not real life. People are hostile. People are negative. People are rude. People share their thoughts on everything. People talk like they'll never see this person in real life. They say outlandish, crazy things to each other on the internet. They being the people, not just sports media, not just news, not just celebrities. People, billions of people share their thoughts on the internet every day. And they are mostly negative. That means that the audience wants that or is comfortable with that. We just had an election that was run on brash, over the top, aggressive, rude, completely lacking dignity and respect campaigns. It doesn't exist anymore. There are spaces for these positive conversations, these non-confrontational conversations. There's spaces for breaking down film and talking about the game, but that is not what the audience wants across the board. Yes, they want that. They also want to hear, why is my team struggling? Because when the team is struggling, we can't go on and say they're struggling, but they're going to get back on track. Like, that's not how sports are discussed, and that's not real life. And this is a zero sum game that everyone is playing. It's wins and losses, and that is all everyone cares about. So There are certain situations for sure where I think that media members have vendettas against certain athletes, where they, personally don't like someone, or maybe they didn't like you not giving them an interview. Like, people getting their feelings about that. People have come out and said, like, I talked bad about this person because they didn't give me an interview, which is absolutely fucking crazy. And those people who do that in the media need to be held accountable, because that's bullshit. People don't owe you anything. There are a lot of nuances to this conversation. Overall, I don't have any problem with anyone ever protecting their mental health, or saying I'm not participating in this conversation, or I'm taking a step away because it is too negative. Especially right now, you do what you got to do. But the overall sentiment that every piece of content needs to be inherently positive when there are A, negative things happening, or B, the results are not meeting the standard or expectation, you can't expect media members, who, by the way, are comprised of a lot of athletes, former athletes, current athletes, to cover it with a positive energy or spin. That the audience doesn't want to hear that. The audience doesn't want to hear that their favorite player on their favorite team is clearly struggling. You are clearly losing. Things are falling apart. And all of the media members, former athletes, current athletes, media members who haven't played, are just supposed to go on air and be like, well, they'll just figure it out. No, that doesn't work. So I think there is space for criticism. I think there is space for honest evaluation and opinion. I think there's space for discussion and debate. I think there's space for nuance. And I actually believe that the show that I do every day and Speak does a really great job of that. I think we have former players. We have players who have played at the highest level, Hall of Famers, champions, and they're giving their perspective in an honest way. They're not giving they're not on some vendetta to hurt people's feelings, or cause controversy. That's not the goal. But sometimes you have to give an honest opinion about something that is happening that is not good. If a team is losing every game this season, you can't go on and be positive. That doesn't make sense. I'm not saying you have to attack someone. You don't have to go over and out of your way to demean someone. Of course, that should be the goal of everyone. Again, it's not, because people are garbage, but that should be the goal. And I think as media members, and I personally always remember that I am talking about human beings. So that would be my only pushback on this. Like, I get it. If you want to get away from negativity, please. We are not here for a long time. If you have the space to go away and enjoy your life and not participate in what's going on, by all means do that. I don't understand why people tap back in when they don't have to. But the idea that every piece of competition is going to be the Olympics are special because they're the Olympics. That's a separate thing. Like, it's representing country. It's the bringing together of people from different teams and different backgrounds. Like, that is not the NBA. The Olympics are different for a reason. There's a reason why we all rally behind Team USA with positivity and excitement. It's the Olympics. That's not the NBA. Completely different entities, completely different energies. You can't compare the Olympics to the NBA. And you can't compare JJ and LeBron's podcast to a daily show reacting to what's happening in the sports world and having the conversation that fans are having. So often people come to me and ask me about working in sports, and like, are the topics contrived? Like, do we purposely take opposite sides to like create this negative energy? And the answer is just simply no. It's not. The shows are produced to be interesting based off of what the talent find interesting, based off of what the audience finds interesting. There's lots of things I would want to talk about that the audience doesn't give a fuck about, so we don't do those topics. The audience determines what we talk about, because ratings are important and numbers are important. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Cool to say that we could just change everything and do everything a certain way. But if their ratings drop off and no one watches, is someone running everybody checks? And also it's not going to happen and it's not going to work. It's not like we walk in every day. Who can we beat up on today verbally? Who can we be mean to? Maybe some people do that, but I've been in the business for 17 years, and that is not the conversation. I have never had that conversation with another talent or producer or executive. What they do say is, what is everyone interested in today? What are the numbers showing that the audience is asking for? And then we talk about that. So I get it again, and I do think that we need to be less negative overall, but I also am a very, very realistic person, and the world is not trending in that direction. All right, so since we just talked about negativity, let's get into another negative situation, which is the New York Football Jets. I have been beating this drum all off season, all last year, all off season last year, all season this year, that you cannot trust bad teams. You just can't. You can't trust them. And the stories just continue to pour out about the Jets, and I'm just not surprised. And when you have dysfunctional teams, the thing about dysfunctional teams is they always find creative ways to be worse. Rather than focusing on getting better, rather than focusing on the process, rather than, curbing way over the top enthusiastic expectations, like there's a saying, like, act like you've been there before. And when you haven't been there before, or it's been so long since you've been there, you forget how to act. Like, you have that one friend you can't take everywhere. That's the Jets. The Jets are that one friend that you can't go everywhere with you. They don't know how to act in certain rooms. Woody Johnson was discussing the situation with the Jets after a 1-point loss to Denver in week 4. They were 2-2. And it was an internal meeting, and he was concerned about the direction of the team. And according to reports, he broached the idea of benching Aaron Rodgers. And it was received by some as a joke and not so much as a joke by others. And here's the thing: when you're an owner of a team or you're an executive, jokes are taken seriously. You can't make jokes. You can't make jokes. I'm struggling to remember another example of this. It happened in the past couple years, and it was like the owner made a joke, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just joking." You're the owner. There is no jokes when you're an owner. You're the boss. If you're implying that you're unhappy with something and that, oh, well, maybe this idea could work, they have to take that seriously. It doesn't matter what context you've said it in. So talking about benching Aaron Rodgers after week 4 when you are 2-2 is insane. And it is exactly why the Jets are where they are, why they've had all these firings, why things are falling apart and the sky is falling. It's because bad organizations just don't know how to have nice things. Aaron Rodgers has been bad this year, but to talk about benching him after week 4, you don't deserve nice things. You don't deserve for Aaron Rodgers to be good. You don't. And I'm not the biggest defender of Aaron Rodgers. I think he creates a lot of chaos. I think he talks down about his teammates in the media. I think he does a lot of really questionable things that would tend to make you believe that he is not necessarily the guy to establish a culture. But wow, this is what you're working against. Even if you aren't a guy that establishes a culture, even if you're a guy who's great at that, how do you beat that? You cannot beat bad management. And bad organizations with bad management, they can't reach sustained levels of success because they're poisoned in the positions of power. They always default back to their bad decision making. They cannot see, okay, we did this was good. Let's continue doing those good things. So they're just not serious. I don't know if the Jets are ever fixable, but that whole situation is just nonsense. Benching Aaron Rodgers, completely unserious. So the sports world is abuzz with this Deion Sanders to the Cowboys conversation. Obviously, a big part of it is because my co-host Michael Irvin was on tour around the country this year talking about this, talking about it with Jerry Jones. He was in Colorado, he was in Dallas with Jerry for the fight, and then to Colorado, and then back for the game. And we've been having these conversations all week. And Deion, rightfully so, is continuing to say that he's happy in Colorado. That's where he wants to be. He likes working with the kids. That is absolutely what he should say. He should not be even giving 1 second to us talking heads or fans having this conversation. He has a job to do. Their season is not over. They have a big game this weekend against Kansas, and this is just not something that he should even entertain at this point. However, the idea was floated by Michael Irvin that Shador would be drafted by the Cowboys, and that would be something that might be enticing to Deion Sanders if Jerry Jones has this conversation. I don't actually see Deion to the Cowboys having anything to do with Shador Sanders. The situation of the quarterback position in Dallas is set. Dak Prescott is way too expensive to move off of. They just gave him a deal. The number would be astronomical to have him not be the quarterback there. Now, perhaps Shador goes there and he sits and waits behind Dak, and he's the guy that's coming up. I don't know if Dallas can sustain that level of tension. They have enough news and circulation of conversations around them that having Deion Sanders' son, Shador Sanders, one of the best players in college football, waiting behind Dak Prescott, the literal second Dak struggles, it's going to be a complete shit show. So I don't even know if that's the best spot for Shador, but I don't think Shador to the Cowboys or Shador even going somewhere else is going to have a huge bearing on where and if Deion goes to the NFL. I actually tend to agree with people who are saying that he'll stay in college football next year as long as the Dallas Cowboys job is not available. I don't think he should go to the Jets. I just went over it. I don't think anyone can fix the Jets. Like, as long as ownership is doing crazy stuff like that, that's not fixable. The Cowboys do crazy things as well, but Deion Sanders could stand toe to toe with Jerry Jones and back him down. And I think at this point, the way that things have gone over the last 30 years, Jerry would actually be open to listening to someone's point of view that he respects. Now, there's very few people who can actually step to Jerry and say, hey, like, I actually have the cachet to tell you no, and you actually need to do it because I'm going to leave here beloved no matter what. If this is your legacy that you brought me in and then didn't let me do what I needed to do, that's going to be a problem, especially considering the state that the Cowboys are in currently. So I don't think that Shador and Deion are tied together throughout the rest of their career. I hope Shador goes to a place where he can develop, where he has good veterans and good coaching around him. If it just so happens to align, would be amazing to see. But I think that Deion Sanders is the only person on the planet that can save the Dallas Cowboys. And if I was Jerry Jones, I would move heaven and hell to get Deion Sanders in the building next year. Obviously, Mike McCarthy is still there. We know he's not going to be there as the coach next year. He's on an expiring contract. They did not renew him, and things are bad. Whether it's all Mike McCarthy's fault or not is a whole different conversation, but we can all assume that he's not going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year, and that position is going to be available. Speaking of positions being available, and I hate this because I really, really, really like Doug Peterson, but Jacksonville's bad again. What a shock. Okay, and another organization that constantly struggles. So Jacksonville's bad again. Trevor Lawrence is broken. Everyone's trying to figure out what to do. They're likely going to move on from Doug Peterson. When the noise becomes this loud, it tends to go that way. And look, they've been disappointing. They've struggled. The expectations for Trevor Lawrence were insane coming into the league. And other than that playoff win, he's been pretty underwhelming. I gave him a pass on his rookie season because that was a complete disaster. But beyond that, it's not really been up to snuff. And the expectations that Doug Peterson brings in as a Super Bowl winning head coach and a guy that works with quarterbacks, it's not looked great. So why is Bill Belichick the answer? So there's reports that Bill Belichick would be interested in going to Jacksonville, that he wants to come back and coach. And my question is, like, what's wrong with retirement? I can't wait to retire. If I get a bag, y'all are never going to hear from me again. Never, ever. I'm going to be on a beach, reading a book, drinking an icy drink, minding my fucking business. What I am not about to do is be working a full-time stressful ass job like turning around the Jacksonville Jaguars at 72 years old. No fucking shot. No shot. What is that wrong with retirement? It's lovely. Like, he's already doing television. Like, is this not enough? What is there left to prove? He's the greatest coach in NFL history. You have so many championships. The coach of a dynasty, a Hall of Famer, a legend. This little break from the Patriots has made me forget how bad it was. And now that this conversation has ticked back up, we got to bring up old shit. Why are you bringing up old shit? I got to bring up old shit. Like the fact that he was 4-13 in New England. Now you can't tell me that's a dysfunctional organization. It's a very well-run organization. You can't tell me that he didn't have the power and control to make decisions there. He had all the power and control. You draft the players. You overrule the scouting department. You make all the hires. You're the guy. You were 4-13. That's on Bill Belichick. You can't point the finger at anybody else there. It wasn't like bad ownership. It's one of the best ownership groups in all of sports. They were a dynasty. You can't pin that on them. That was Bill Belichick. You remember what happened that year, right? Because we've all forgotten. We've been able to stop talking about it. And why they had to mutually part ways. They were 4-13. They lost to the Cowboys 38-3, the worst loss of his coaching career, 35 points. The next week, they lost to the Saints by a score of 34-0, which was his worst home loss of his career. All of that happened his last year in New England. Oh, things get stale. You stay in a place too long. No, because that's actually a well-run organization. So you expect me to believe that Bill Belichick is going to go to Jacksonville that has been habitually bad forever, with the exception of very few years, which were not sustained. And the last time that you were coaching and you had all the power in a well-run organization that you had immense levels of success, you were 4-13, and you're going to go to Jacksonville and turn this around? Just retirement is so nice. I have infinite respect for Bill Belichick and what he's done in this league. I actually was defending him adamantly during that year that, sometimes the game moves past you, like for various reasons. You're dealing with young people that you can't relate to. The game changes a bit. The style of development changes, and it's okay. Well, if you're back, it's not okay, because now we're going to have to judge you again. And these will be problems you asked for. So I don't know, man. I can't wait to retire. It's just like, it's going to be lovely. All right, time to get to your comments before we get out of here. We really appreciate you hanging out with us and commenting. Make sure that you hit subscribe and like and share and comment. We appreciate you. So let's get to the YouTube comments. HerbTap3031. Jake Paul and Jerry Jones, top used car salesman, in my opinion. Yeah. They're not selling anything. They're not selling anything new and fresh. That's for sure. They're not selling current excitement. So they're not selling competition. None of that is happening. At Sean Hampton G2J, I can look and listen to you all day. Thank you for the podcast. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. Thank you for watching. At Porterfield24, I'm going to need you to dial it back on the Aaron Rodgers blasphemy. I think I said nice things about Aaron Rodgers today, but I don't think I ever say anything except for what's actually happened with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't even have to really sprinkle an opinion about Aaron Rodgers. Like, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So I don't know. Is he a deity? Maybe he's done enough ayahuasca to pass over to the other side. That's what's happening. At Steve Santiago, your Steelers may very well knock off the Chiefs in the playoffs in a slugfest. Like you pointed out, that Steelers defense is elite, and we already know Mike Tomlin is a Hall of Fame head coach. I agree. I think that the only team that I would pick against, because I've been on the Chiefs all season long, three-peat all season long, and before the season, the only team I think could beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game is the Steelers. And if it comes down to that, I would pick the Steelers. If they're looking how they look now and healthy, I think the AFC Championship game is this weekend. I'm picking the Steelers. At Danny Boy Joe 1394, boxing is a joke now for years thanks to Jake and Mayweather. Real KO, TKO boxing is dead gone. Boxing. So here's the thing about boxing, and I I love boxing, and I am I'm a big fan um of the sweet science. I definitely understand why boxing has fallen off. In my opinion, we do not have a lot of great American heavyweights. A lot of those would-be boxers play football now. So, why would you go and put yourself through and your body through that type of training and hits when you could play football? So I think we don't get the same level of athlete boxing, and you need stars. You need guys that can sell fights. I mean, back in the day, we had such amazing heavyweights with great personalities and the abilities to create all this controversy and tension leading up to fights. And that was a great thing about Mike Tyson. I don't think that Paul and Mayweather, I don't think he killed boxing, because Mayweather fights were always people were going to watch, even if they said that they didn't or they were boring. They were watching. He's just a brilliant defensive fighter, and we like offense, we like hits, we like knockouts, and that wasn't his style. But he's also not a heavyweight. So I think that if we had more big personality top American heavyweights, it would be a different world. But that's just not the world that we're in right now. So I think that's changed, and that's a big part of the reason why. And maybe it will never go back, but that's where we are right now. So I really believe that's why that's happening. Okay, and the last one is from Mill We A Brooks 6317. Sorry if I'm torturing your or butchering your names, by the way, guys. Joy, I love you, but you media people are always rooting for chaos. Deion to the Cowboys would be chaotic. It would be chaotic. It would be insane. It would be complete chaos. And yes, I would be rooting for that. However, he's also proved himself to be a really good coach and a developer and a culture builder. He's built up multiple programs now. He knows how to relate and talk to young players. He knows how to relate and talk to older players. They respect him. They understand he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's going to put together an incredible staff. So yeah, it would be complete and utter chaos, but it would be brilliant chaos. It would be fun chaos, and it would be legitimate competition. So I'm rooting for that. But either way, I mean, it's up to Prime what he decides to do, and we'll support and watch whatever, whether he stays in college or goes to the Cowboys or the pros. But I definitely think it would be the most interesting story in all of sports. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I will be back on Monday. Make sure that you subscribe. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and follow me on social media at Joy Taylor Talks.